Welcome to the Bright Ideas Podcast.
Hey, Brandon, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for making some time to be here.
Thank you, Trent. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So for the folks in my audience who maybe don't know who you are, let's start there. Who are you and what does your company make and sell?
Yeah, so I'm Brandon. I'm the founder of our company. It's called Keto Farms. So very simply, we sell keto-friendly, ultra flavorful and delicious snacks primarily on Amazon. And our customers who are following a keto or low carb approach, who miss a lot of their favorite snacks, they miss all the sweets and extra salty chips, Doritos, things like that. We attempt to recreate those old classics in a way that without sugar, without carbs, and is a lot better for you. And that's kind of how we built our business, primarily on e-commerce.
So when did you start the business and where are you at today in terms of, revenue or number of bags of chips sold or number of products sold or just some kind of easy to understand metric?
Sure. Yeah. So we started the business in about May 2018. So we're coming up on three years, and a lot of false starts, kind of failed products, but stumbled our way into positioning the brand around snacks, and weathered the COVID storm, and coming up into 2021, we're approaching about $1 million run rate on e-commerce. So it's been quite the journey.
Annual run rate of $1 million.
Annualized. Yes.
Annualized.
Yes.
Okay. So how many people does it take to run a small $1 million brand like yourself? Is it just you, just a skeleton crew?
Yeah, so we are a lean and mean operation. I'm the only full-time employee and really have a desire to keep it that way. And I've really enjoyed this process of outsourcing. And it's something I'd read about years ago with Tim Ferriss and his book. It's been fun to make it a reality. So we've got myself and maybe 5 to 6 outsourced resources from, a domestic kind of outsource ops team to your more, conventional VAs overseas that are helping out with administration, customer service, all that fun stuff.
Okay. So the first takeaway that I want to get for the audience that's listening, they're saying, hey, this guy's got $1 million business. He's basically running it with himself. Obviously capital for inventory and some advertising and so forth, and a small crew. Are you able to be profitable and pay for your life at $1 million?
Yes. The business is profitable, and I am taking a reasonable salary. It's not a salary that I could go travel the world or buy California real estate with, but it's something that's really kind of freed up my life and been really fulfilling to, even in a capital intensive business like this isn't software or media. We've been able to make it work, and it took a little bit to get there, but we got there about middle of last year. We turned profitable.
Okay. So let's start to unpack, now that the audience understands what you've accomplished. Let's start to unpack how you got to where you're at, so we can dig into some golden nuggets, hopefully, that they'll be able to use and implement in their businesses. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of your plans for the next few quarters or next year, things that you're going to be working on. So how did you come up with the idea for the product? Was it inspiration? Was it perspiration? Was it a bunch of experiments and micro tests and focus groups? Like because a lot of people really, really struggle with how do I come up with an idea for a product?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of all happened by accident. It started with a gentleman's agreement with my business partner late after work. We were working at a startup, but a more of a corporate type of startup. It had grown a lot, had VC capital and executive team. And we just had a gentleman's agreement to work on a product together. And the keto diet was a natural place to go because he had been on it for a few years. He got me onto it earlier. And just in our own experience, we had so many ideas of, man, this is a really hard diet to follow. It'd be a lot easier if X existed or Y existed. And we could see on Amazon the trends. It just seemed like kind of right place, right time. We had so much energy. We quit our jobs without really much of a plan. I don't know if that was the right decision looking back on it, but it happened and we were into it. And then that's a really interesting feeling because you kind of have to figure it out. It's a bit of that do or die survival mentality that where if you don't have that, you can keep pushing it off. And maybe a lot of your listeners have ideas or dreams. And sometimes it takes a little bit of that fire to get you going, but we found a way to make it work, kind of iterating each step along the way. And so
I do want to jump in there for a minute, because I do think that's a takeaway I don't want to glaze over, because I did what you did when I made the transition as well. I quit my job. I sold my house. I liquidated my investments. I was 100% committed. And the safer approach, no doubt, is to do your side hustle until the income of your side hustle passes your main job. And then you can easily transition from one to the other. But here's the problem. And I'm speaking not to you, but to the audience in particular. And you can chime in. When you're trying to do 2 full-time jobs, it's exhausting. How do you find the time? And just like you said, it's easy to put it off. It's easy to leave it for another day. The one thing that I do want some people to think about is, and I'm not necessarily endorsing, quitting your job if you haven't even done any micro tests or any market validation or anything. I mean, you must have had some idea, and you can chime in a second, but you've got to create, 1, the time in your schedule, and 2, you've got to have the commitment that, like, hey, I'm burning the bridges because this is the path that I am taking. So I don't know how that will land for the audience. That probably scares the hell out of a bunch of people. But in some situations, I think it's the only way to go. So in your situation, did you guys do this as a side hustle for a while? And then what was a while? What was the indicator that triggered in your mind, like, hey, it's time to jump off the bridge?
Yeah, we didn't do those micro tests that you're talking about. And I would certainly advise anyone listening to definitely do that before you quit. But I think there's a difference between that and then doing micro tests for 5 years on end.